Just start talking.
Okay,
You're live.
great. Okay. Hey, Martine, good to see you. Hey, you and I were talking about curiosity as it relates to, the way you work with your clients and the way I work with mine, and just a little example of how it works in business through a question of Mr. CEO, why are you doing that? And I can
Yeah.
relate. I can relate that in just a short story through a client that I had a while back, an IT client. Guy wanted to sell his company, very successful guy, very involved in sales, and needed to ramp up sales to make his bottom line look more efficient.
Hmm.
And we like to say is if you want a profit, you got to put a dollar sign on it. You got to know how much you want to
Absolutely.
make.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it works the same in business, and applying what I've learned through you in the curiosity theory, working with you, and applying it in business is something that I've always done, but not consciously the way that you promoted in the curiosity theory. So this has been great for me. I had a client who wanted to sell his company. He hired me to help him hire a VP of sales. Going to pay the guy $300,000 by the time he moved him, hired him, paid him a bonus, and at the end of the day, through the process, what we discovered by questions, I couldn't get the CEO out of the sales process in trying to hire this guy. And at the end of the day, the whole point was to free him up so that he could concentrate on selling his business, which is a whole different set of skills and activities than selling in the thing. So what we did was we hired a couple of business execs at a fraction of the cost, quoted them with $7 million in revenue each, and now he's got a much lower overhead in terms of cost and a much higher revenue base. And so at the end of the day, what he's looking at now is a much more revenue rich company with a lower cost of sales. At the end of the day, if you think about it, even though he's got two more people on staff, he's got them at a lower cost of employment, and he's got 14 million in revenue that wasn't on the books before. At the end of the day, so we arrived at that through being curious by asking him, well, "What the hell are you doing? I mean, what are you really trying to accomplish?"
Yeah.
And so the same applies in business. You as a salesperson, and we talk about this. Our needs as a salesperson, and we always act in the service of our own needs. We have to make money, but we also have to act in the interest of our clients, right? So
Hmm.
we have to honestly express what we're thinking and curiously investigate what our clients are thinking, so that we can communicate effectively. And through a series of questions and answers, we really arrive at what's important and what the real needs are and how we go about achieving those needs. And at the end of the day, the guy sells his company for $300 million and makes a big profit. So, the idea of being curious is really, really important in business. You have to
I,
ask
pre-
questions. You have to ask questions. You got to listen. You got to
I
listen.
love it. I appreciate that. So let's kind of dissect. Thank you for saying that. And what I'd like to do is kind of dissect what you did and then see how curiosity, the whole curiosity theory works inside that. Because what we're talking about is a dynamic of two different thoughts, because you have what is the technical part of business, and then you have what is the personal part of business. Because it doesn't matter what we do. We're going to have people run in the businesses, and every day in and day out, human beings are going to be human beings. We're going to have our feelings. We're going to have our needs. We're going to have our wants. We're going to have stories that we make up. We're going to have communication. Sometimes it's really powerful and clear. Sometimes we're saying what we want to say and we think we're being crystal clear, but that's not the way it comes across. And I would say, and then we think we know what we want, but in here it's going to be what we call a monologue. But when you have a coach like you, then you actually get to put it in dialogue. And if you're open and curious, then that dialogue then can open up different possibilities and different opportunities. And I hear that's what happened. So let's kind of go back. So the first part was you had, and I just kind of wrote some notes. You had a CEO looking to hire a VP of sales.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the goal, right? Because he wanted to eventually sell the business. Is that correct?
That was, yeah, and the objective of hiring somebody was to free him up out of sales so that he could focus on doing all the things he needed to do to sell the business. That's a technical need that he needed. Okay.
So
So,
I need to be freed up. So his need is I need to hire someone so I can be freed up so that I can sell the business. So
correct.
there was
Yeah.
three things. I need to be freed up. I need to have a
Sell the business.
salesperson, and then I
Yeah.
need to sell the business. Okay. So hire, freed up, and sell. So what often happens is people go to the final thing. Well, all you want to do is sell. All you want to do is sell, rather than listen to what all the objectives are in the middle. Like listening to every single part of what somebody says.
Yeah.
So so what happened is he came to you. Sounds to me like he came to you and you said, "Let's break this down." So how did you break that down?
So we started at let's look at the person you want to hire, because that ultimately getting the hire is the jugular that makes him free to go do what he needs to do, and it's the jugular that makes him allows him to make money by hiring a sales VP. Okay, so it's a
Okay.
critical juncture. It's the critical piece, but it turns out that his need to sell the company and his need to hire somebody were really in conflict, because he never really wanted to get out of the sales process. And when you have a sales VP as a CEO, one of the things that you need to learn is to delegate. And
No, we got that. So
yeah,
I just want to kind of, we're only going to be here for like 5 minutes. So
okay.
he had a goal, and because you were curious, because the way you listen, the way you consult, is you actually were able to distinguish for him that you're not going to leave the role that you have. Like you want to hire somebody to do the thing that you're not going to relinquish.
And the question I asked him was, well, how are you going to go do what you tell me? Explain to me how you're going to sell the company and do all that planning if you're going to be on the road in sales. Explain to me how that works. And if you can explain to me and yourself how that works, then maybe you don't need to hire a VP of sales. Then you really don't need one. Maybe what you need is somebody that can go out and generate the revenue, because the real crux of this was to show the company had really solid revenue numbers. And by hiring a couple of salespeople, business development guys, he basically arrived at the decision, hey, wait a second, I'm still going to be the VP of sales. I can split my time. Let me concentrate on the revenue, because once the revenue piece is there, it makes it much easier for me to sell the company. So it was basically a light switch going on. And
Yeah.
it just came out of the fact that we kept asking him, how is this going to work? How are you going to achieve revenue and sell the business if you've got a VP and you're getting in the way of that? You can't do that. It doesn't work.
That's awesome. So the struggle that I find often with consultants or with coaches is they come in with like an agenda, and they're not even flexible. Like they're just inflexible. Like this is what you want to do. You got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. So then oftentimes what I see is that the CEO will say, I need to hire a VP, and they hire a VP. Then they fight with each other because that's not really what they wanted. They really wanted something else. But because we're human beings, and I'm married, you're married, and how many times have we said something to our spouses and we know what we meant, but it wasn't heard. It wasn't heard. And in business, what we do with the curiosity theory is we take that same human philosophy into business. And one of the ideas is that just because you say what you're saying doesn't mean it is what you mean. Even though we say, like, I say what I mean, but it's not always what you mean. You meant
Right.
something else.
Yeah.
So going through the whole benefit of the curiosity theory, whole benefit of working with a consultant like you over KPI is that the way you listen is you can listen not attached to what somebody's saying, but kind of like ask questions. And then actually what shows up is this guy, this CEO, the whole thing is, Mr. CEO, why are you doing that? Like he's saying, let's hire a VP, but really needed was sales executives. So my question I have for you is, how did you get this CEO that knew what he wanted to do something that was completely not what he wanted to do or not what he was requesting, but then ultimately was what he was requesting? How did you go through that? Like how did you go through that process?
Well, it basically came down to the mechanics of revenue. Okay, if we ask them to look at what it would cost to hire versus what does it look like if he hires two guys and quotas them at a big number, they achieve those numbers, and he meets his revenue, and now he's got a lower cost of sales. So now he's got a more profitable business with higher revenue, and it makes his financial picture look better. You know, you asked a really good question before about, or you made a statement about coaching and coaches in general. Good coaches don't tell people what to do. What happens in coaching is that coaching provides a client with a pathway to discover the path they need to take on their own. And a really good coach will coach his way out of a client. And that's the sign of a successful coach. And in the case of Randy, at this company, you know, Randy came to the conclusion that after he looked at the numbers, all I did was ask him to look at the numbers and look at the financial picture, because at the end of the day, like we said, if you want a profit, you got to put a number on it, right? You got to quantify.
Yeah, you got to know what that number is going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And as a business coach, I'm big in process and numbers. So, you know, as a motivational coach, you know, you deal in a little different realm. I deal in business process. So, and I work with guys that can segregate their personality from their business, and those are good clients for me. But in this case, Randy arrived at this by himself. He looked at the numbers. All I did was point him in a direction. I didn't tell him he had to do it. He looked at it and said, you know, maybe hiring some people makes more sense. I may have suggested it along the way, but I didn't say you have to do that, because that's not my role. I don't know his business the way he knows his business. And no coach ever knows the business of their clients the way the clients know the business. I mean,
yeah.
I got to tell you, I feel stupid sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you know, that's a question that I get asked often is like, do you know this business? And I tell people, I don't have to know your business. You know your business. I just understand how people work through processes, through thinking, how it works through our emotions, how it works through the things we want, and how to get focused on what we really need in life. You know, what the ultimate goal is in your head, but it's not necessarily something you know how to articulate. Yeah, and at the moment that you articulate it, it goes off like a light bulb, like, wow. And you start moving powerfully in that direction.
It's amazing when light bulbs go off. You know, another time I'll tell you a story about arithmetic with the light bulb going off. That's another story. But you know, it's true about coming to revelations that when you see something in simplicity, and you can see how the ramifications of simplistic solutions are, it's a very powerful thing for a business owner. And sometimes they just make things too complicated. They just
absolutely
complicated. So
I appreciate how.
That's our job, is to uncomplicate things.
I appreciate that. Well, great. So thanks for hanging out with me a little bit, and let's do it again real soon.
Anytime, Martin. You have a great day. Stay safe.
Take care. You bet.
Right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.